Rob Manfred is up to his old tricks, but I'm not going to sweat it. Meanwhile, the WNBA has finally caught fire, but are they about to set their progress on fire? Plus, we'll talk with our pal Gunz about everything going on in the world of sports and what working with legends is like. It's all right now on a new edition of Gordon Damer on Sports. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into another edition of Gordon Damer on Sports. As always, thank you for spending part of your day with me. I appreciate you. Of course, before we get rolling, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. We got some shows dropping every week, so you don't want to miss what we got coming up. Now, Today's show's a big one. We are joined by our guy Gunz from The Gunz Show. You can find him everywhere from Outkick to Fox News to Twitter, sports, music. He covers it all. And he's a guy who has a unique path to where he is today. But where I want to begin today is with everyone's favorite topic. That would be collective bargaining agreements. Yippee! Yes, who doesn't love some good CBA talk? But seriously, we've right now got two leagues that are kind of staring down the barrel of some labor drama. And one will include headlines of doom and gloom, and the other not really getting that much attention, but in terms of actual damage to the sports involved, I think that it should actually be reversed. All right, so let's get with the doom and gloom first. That, of course, would be Major League Baseball. Of course it is. Everything in Major League Baseball is doom and gloom. And the sport that probably has taught us more about labor agreements than anyone, right? When it comes to strikes and lockouts and everything in between, MLB is the granddaddy of them all, so we'll have to get ready for another go-round. Why is that? Well, the current baseball CBA between the players and owners is in effect through the 2026 season. It expires December 1st, 2026. So we have all of this year and all of next year. So what's there to worry about? Well, the problem is Rob Manfred is already laying the groundwork. He's been making the rounds, meeting with players directly, and it's starting to look a lot like another push for a salary cap. Stop me if you've heard this one before, right? This is nothing new. The baseball owners have tried to force a cap going really back to the 70s. They did it most famously in 1994 when it led to a strike and the cancellation of the World Series. Now, according to the MLBPA Deputy Director Bruce Meyer, this is all part of a decades-long pattern of the league trying to divide the players and push for economic control. Manfred's not talking to the players' union. He's taking his push directly to the players. The PA doesn't like that. Now, again, the CBA doesn't expire until 2026, but make no mistake, the owners are getting their talking points in order early, and while Manfred insists nothing is finalized, his message to the players sounds very familiar. It is all about a salary cap. And of course, good luck with that, right? We've seen this movie before. No World Series in 94. And when the smoke cleared back then, the owners lost badly. And that moment didn't just derail a season or cancel a World Series. It helped strengthen the most battle-hardened union in pro sports, the MLBPA. These guys are never blinking again. So if you want to cap the conversation for them, we'll start with a floor, which means forcing owners of teams like the A's, the Pirates, the Rockies to actually spend their revenue-sharing money instead of just sticking it in the pocket. And that's not going to happen. Not from this group of owners, not with the current appetite for risk, not when they've already got billions of dollars locked into media deals and expansion plans and the like. So the idea of a prolonged lockout or a shutdown to force change, these owners, I don't think, have that kind of stomach. They're not in this economy and not with this kind of media environment. So with all the headlines that will scream crisis from now until then, I'm not buying it. This is not a sport at a crossroads. This is not a code red emergency. This is a rerun. We've seen this movie before, and the players certainly, they've seen the movie before. They've lived the movie before. So Rob Manfred can go on this publicity tour, pitching his salary cap dream to clubhouses, making it sound like it's something other than a salary cap. But everyone in baseball knows how this ends, and it ends the same way it always does, with the players holding the line and the owners eventually backing off when the cost of a fight becomes too real, because no one damages the sport of baseball quite like the people in baseball, whether it's tanking teams or blackouts or a commissioner constantly downplaying the integrity of his own product. Baseball's biggest obstacles almost always are self-inflicted. But here's the thing. For all the talk about baseball dying, if baseball was going to die, it would have died already. The people running the sport would have already killed it. The sport has been through scandal after scandal. Think about just in your own lifetime. Steroids, labor wars, cheating, and yet it keeps standing. I think because baseball at this point is just institutional, right? It's baked into our culture. It's generational, and you can't tear that down with a fight over revenue sharing. So even in this so-called dying era, the game is still pulling in, $11 billion a year? Attendance seems good. The TV deals are locked in. Streaming is growing. So for all the whining and dread, the sport keeps moving forward, often in spite of its leadership, not because of it. So when I hear talk of baseball collapsing over a labor dispute, I kind of roll my eyes. Maybe you do too, because this isn't a sport that's hanging by a thread. This is a sport that has survived everything that it can throw at itself, and the attendance throughout the league is still doing pretty well. But not every league is set up to survive that kind of turmoil. Contrast baseball with the WNBA. The players' union there back in October opted out of their current collective bargaining agreement, setting the clock for a potential labor showdown. The existing deal that they have between their players and owners runs through Halloween of this year. But without a new agreement in place by then, a work stoppage is very much on the table. Now, look, this was not a surprise. The league is experiencing a financial boom, right? Record ratings, packed arenas, massive new $2.2 billion media rights deal. So this is the time where you go back to the table to negotiate a better deal. That all makes sense. So how are those talks going, you might ask? Well, the union flat out rejected the league's first proposal, with one person calling it a slap in the face. And it certainly feels like everyone is just racing to cash in on the newfound popularity. Players flooding the upcoming free agency pool, expecting a salary bump, and the league, they're not any better, announcing 6 new expansion teams by 2030, including Cleveland, Detroit, and Philly. And look, it sounds ambitious. I guess it's good to be ambitious. But honestly, to me, it feels a little reckless, no? I mean, this is a league that is finally experiencing some real growth after decades of losses and decades of just no attention whatsoever. It was an afterthought. And now, before the ink is dry on a TV deal, everyone is trying to grab their slice of the pie, even before the pie is out of the oven. It feels like planning to buy a Lamborghini because you hit the first 3 numbers in the Mega Millions. People, you're not rich yet, especially because all of this growth is based on one thing, one player, Caitlin Clark. I know it's said time and time again, but it's still true. She is the rocket fuel that has created all of this attention. She's generated over 25% of the league's entire economic activity last season. StubHub said that every one of the top 10 ticket-selling WNBA games this year included the Fever. Fanatics, who sells all the gear and jerseys and all that, they ranked her in the top 20 in all sports and 6th among basketball players, including the NBA. Even preseason games featuring her are drawing NBA-type ratings. So this is not just hype. This is historic. This is something that has never happened in league history ever before. And I guess you'd have to say there's at least a chance it's never going to happen again. So no other player comes close. And please stop with the Angel Reese nonsense. This is not Bird and Magic. Caitlin Clark is both Bird and Magic and then some, all wrapped up into one. Seriously, before Caitlin Clark arrived, you could have gone to Times Square with pictures of the biggest WNBA players. And you would have stood there for hours, if not days, before anyone could have recognized anyone. So the league is definitely growing, and that's fantastic, but let's not get carried away. The players' demands seem kind of out of this world. Expanded rosters, higher salaries, guaranteed contracts, full charter flights, a seat at the media rights table, retirement plans, revenue sharing, you name it. And look, it's good to be ambitious, it's good to be bold, but it feels like they're it also feels like they're willing to detonate the whole thing before anything's even stabilized. Yes, they have momentum, but they're not profitable. In 2024, the league still lost $40 million, and that's after the Caitlin Clark effect. And this is a league that has been subsidized by the NBA for 3 decades. It's expanding to 16 teams by 2028, and yet it's never had a single self-sustaining season. And everyone on the player side needs to lose the talking point about how much NBA players make. There is no comparison. You cannot talk about NBA players and what their salaries are when the NBA generates $11 billion a year. The WNBA is projected to reach nearly $1 billion in 2025. In 2024, it was $700 million. Comparing what WNBA players make to NBA players is like that scene in Seinfeld where George Costanza's ranting about what Ted Danson makes on Cheers. It's nonsensical, and yet it seems like a work stoppage is on the table. If that happens, if a work stoppage happens, that is the greatest self-sabotage any sport league has ever pulled. Now, I know what you're probably saying. They realize this. They're not going to blow up the whole situation. They're just trying to get a better, fairer deal, and they have a better read on the situation than you have. And I would generally agree with you. But the WNBA and their players have time and time again shown they're not always grounded in reality. The WNBA players don't have the kind of leverage I think they do. They're betting on revenue that has not even arrived yet. They're asking for ownership level control while still depending on subsidies. And in the meantime, they're risking the very thing that gave them this shot in the first place, the momentum that Caitlin Clark brought to the league. Because Clark hasn't just brought ratings and sold out arenas and $1 billion spotlight and $1 billion spotlight to the NBA. She's also exposed something that the league was not ready for, the players' disconnect from reality of big-time sports. Since she arrived, there has been a clear us versus her mentality, and fans see it. She was not named to the Olympic team. She was voted the 9th best guard by her peers. She's been often targeted on the court and mocked off of it. And she's treated more like a threat rather than the rising tide that lifts all boats. And I think this goes deeper than just jealousy or competitiveness. According to USA Today's Christine Brennan, who just released a new book on Clark, even asking basic questions about on-court behavior sparks meltdowns. WNBA veterans Dejanay Carrington and DeWanna Bonner reportedly felt attacked when Brennan asked about a moment that clearly played on national television, a hard foul against Caitlin Clark. The players were so upset by the questions, there were calls to pull Brennan's credentials from the league. And when Brennan followed up with a WNBA official, that unnamed official's response was pretty blunt. Quote, unfortunately, most of our players have zero idea what real media exposure is. They've been shielded in college and come to the WNBA not knowing what real questions are. Frankly, our players just don't get it. And I think that's the core issue. The WNBA is finally joining the mainstream, but its players don't seem equipped for the spotlight. They're demanding more money and more power and more influence, and that's all good, but reacting to basic media scrutiny like they've never seen a microphone before. And this is not just about Clark alone. It's about a league that wants to be treated like the NBA without showing that they're really ready for what comes with it or really realizing where they are in the sports landscape. Now, I know diehard fans will say, oh, you don't get it. You're not a diehard WNBA fan. What do you know? Well, I don't have to know anything because I'm more the person that the league needs to survive. I'm more of the person the league needs to win over, the casual fan to make their league grow. So unfortunately, this is one of those times where perception kind of is reality. So look, I'm sure both sides in the WNBA will come to their senses and eventually get this thing worked out and avoid a work stoppage. I certainly hope so. But if I told you that they didn't, knowing what you know so far about the WNBA, would it really shock you that much? So look, Major League Baseball might make noise about salary caps and Rob Manfred can travel from clubhouse to clubhouse making his pitch. And the headlines will scream labor war in Major League Baseball. But at the end of the day, players are not going to cave. And the owners, I don't think, are going to go nuclear. We've seen this movie before. The MLBPA is the most battle-tested union in professional sports, and they know how to win these fights. And the owners, I just don't think they have the stomach to shut down the game for years, and that's what it would take to get a salary cap. Now, the WNBA, on the other hand, that's a different story entirely because we have not been down this road with them before, and that's exactly what makes it kind of dangerous. This is uncharted territory, a league finally experiencing some actual momentum, some actual visibility, and real financial promise. But instead of consolidating those gains, it seems like the players think they've hit the lottery and are going to get everything that they've ever asked for. And look, get what you can, but also keep both feet firmly in reality because the harsh truth is WNBA players more often than not seem out of touch with why they've suddenly got the spotlight they do. They talk like they've made it, but the league is still losing millions of dollars every year and living off NBA subsidies. And the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, which is amazing, is constantly met with hostility and entitlement. So if the player movement is just as disconnected from the league's financial reality as it seems like it is from public perception, then yes, they might actually destroy the very progress that they've made. All right, our guest for this episode is Gunz, at Gunz Show on Twitter. He's all over the place. Gunz, what's going on, pal? How are you?
What is up, my friend? It is always a pleasure to see you. Known you for a minute now. You've known me for quite some time. You've seen me throughout my all different hairstyles and eras and everything, being our previous times over at WNBA, ESPN, everything going on at Madison Square Garden, when you could still go to Madison Square Garden and not worry about your safety.
Yeah. Well, look, I was going to list all the different things that you're into, and then I realized the podcast, if we go over an hour, it's a little bit too much. So so for the people that don't know your background, how did you first kind of break into sports media? Give us that story.
Yeah, so I was always a big music fan and always a sports fan, and I kind of want to go ties into the other. I was really involved in like the local music scene and whatnot, and especially like emo and pop music, and I was a big Blink-182 fan. So when I was in high school, I saw that there was an open casting call for MTV, and you could become a band. All right, it was called MTV Wannabe Becoming, and I wanted to become Blink-182. They had like NSYNC and Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit at the time, and like whatever. And so I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to go this. Now I'm from Jersey. Both my parents are teachers. I probably have been in New York City maybe a handful of times, but my dad was working that day. My mom's like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not driving to New York City, but she knew I really wanted to go. And so she called up, like she was a teacher. So she called up one of the other teachers and they drove me in, and I ended up competing against 350 other people to become one of the Blink-182 guys. And I won. And I'm like 15 years old at the time. Everyone else is like in their 20s or whatnot. Like I'm 15. I showed up with like my guitar. I showed up dressed out like them. I was the only one that brought a prop, but I didn't know. I just know in music, in the industry, you always want to separate yourself from everybody else. And believe me, I did that. They knew immediately who I was. I said yes to doing anything that they wanted. I ended up winning. My parents had to like sign all the forms for me because I wasn't 18, but I ended up winning that. And then, we had a full 1 hour show. It was great. And then I was still in high school. And then a lot of the MTV people were free agent, especially casting. So then they started this thing called Much Music that had just moved down from Canada, and Fuse Television. So as a senior in high school, they were calling me, and I would leave school early sometimes, or eighth period or early, to go into the city to be a VJ and do on-air stuff. So I was interviewing this girl named from Barbados named Rihanna, to like Eminem, to Green Day. And I was a senior in high school. So that started going off really well. Obviously, I go to Fordham University because I wanted a broadcasting school. Got in Syracuse. Syracuse wouldn't let me intern really until a junior. And I go, well, I have all this stuff going. I don't want to wait. Fordham, I was able to kind of talk my way through. And they were like, yeah, we can give you, like, you can get credit as a freshman. And, lo and behold, I started doing the radio program there, WFUV. Fantastic school, diehard Yankee fan. And then I started covering the Yankees as a sophomore when I was at Fordham University. So the sports, while I was still doing my music, was hand in hand, and then started interning at ABC on the weekends. And then that led to ESPN radio as well. So I had the best of, honestly, both worlds and everything. And I still continue to do it to this day.
So when I first kind of get to know you, you were working on the Imus show, Don Imus, and working along with Warner Wolf, who are two legends in broadcasting. What did you learn from them, and how were you prepared for what you were getting yourself into?
No, but yes, if that makes sense. So what it was what I learned from Imus is never wear your heart on your sleeve, never show emotion. Imus was a tough SOB, no doubt about it. He made one of the female interns next to me cry because he made fun of her, ripped her on the air because she messed up like the live read, and she starts crying. And he saw that because he was there at the time before, he was doing remote stuff. And once you cried in front of him, it's like he had you. He knew that he had you, but also like he lost all respect for you like that. Like, you got to be tough in this game. So he would rip me left and right, but I just wore it off, knowing the next day was just brush it off, just do a good job, and let the results stand for themselves. So that always, and it worked out in my favor. You know, I was filling in for him when he would take off weeks at a time nationally. When I was still in college, interviewing like John McCain, just all these people that and that it kind of just so be tough, just roll with the punches, needless to say. And God knows there were plenty when it came to Imus, because he was crazy in the best form, broadcast legend, but like he could be fine one segment, and then the next segment, whether it was a bit or not, he would just go nuts. And a lot of times it wasn't a bit, and you're like, what the hell just happened? Everything was fine. But it just showed the unpredictability of this industry. So he was, and he also, the other thing is he always said, because he would listen to some of my music interviews and stuff and he'd give me advice. And also like he helped me start broadcasting at ESPN and stuff, like put in a word for me. And he, instead of saying let my audience know, it was always talk to me. And I always know that, like when you're doing when you're speaking out there, it's not only envision that you're speaking to one person, but also have them talk to you as if they're just talking to one person back. So that was always the thing that Imus taught me, was just the chaos and just get ready for anything. And then Warner was just Warner taught me that this world's a small industry, and the world's also small because everything comes back around. And so Warner, I mean, interviewed everybody from Muhammad Ali throughout the years to just, to Steinbrenner and so it's the importance of having a good name and a good reputation, which is funny because you compare it to Imus, who didn't have the best reputation, but had the name at least. That everything, don't be an a-hole, because unless you're able to, like a Don Imus or a Howard Stern level, then you can call your own shots,
Yeah.
Warner taught me that the industry is very small and reputations mean a lot. So.
All right, so you've worn a lot of hats in your career between the radio and now you're getting into, social media and all that type of stuff, the music, politics, sports. Is there a thread that ties it together for you?
Yeah, you want to know what it is? And it's funny because for years, my agents never really fully understood this, but now they are. I think we see it from Pat McAfee. It's, they all tie together. And for growing up, it was like, oh, you can only be entertainment. Oh, you can only be sports. And my argument, or you can only do music. And it's like, they're all going to be interchanged eventually. And now the beauty about doing like a show, like my music show, the Gunz Show, which I interview everybody from like Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz and Mariano to like Calipari to Dan and Shay, who are country legends, to Ice Cube was just on, to Blink-182, to Katy Perry, who I can't stand. So it's like it's that that they all really do intertwine. Now, the only one that might not is politics, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't read up on everything. You know what I mean? Politics, the world's even more divisive now than ever before. And the reason I can say that is because of social media. Maybe in the past, things were definitely, look at the 60s and 70s. The country wasn't doing too great, clearly. There were a lot of wrong things that were happening, but it wasn't in front of you. Unless Walter Cronkite was saying it or you were reading about it in a paper, you didn't know. Now you don't even know if it's true, but you're going to believe it's true because the algorithm is going to feed you that it's true. And that could be whatever it might be. You might be, if you're a Yankee fan, you might think the world's crumbling around you because all you see are Yankee fans telling you the same thing. If you get into the political realm, it's all there. So the one thing that I've learned is it is all intertwined. I think that's what makes like McAfee such a success, and you can see more people trying to be him. It's the fact that people are just regular people. So you might be on a sports station, but there's only so much sports that you can talk. So you want to bring in that music aspect. The athletes are listening to music when they're getting hyped up, or they always had their headphones on for a reason. And my band friends and music friends are in fantasy leagues and they're doing sports betting all the time, or they're like, Morgan Wallen, who's now bringing out, Patrick Mahomes, or, all these people.
Eli Manning.
It's all intertwined. Right. So it's just read and be as knowledgeable as possible. Have an opinion. Don't be an a-hole, but, and just do it. But I'm definitely fortunate, man. I love music. I love sports. And I also love pulp culture. I love living on Souls. Politics, I definitely have my opinions. You got, you just got to realize that if you say stuff these days, it's going to, you're never going to make everybody happy. And I'm a people pleaser. You know what I mean, Gordon?
Well, the story that I saw that made me think of having you on the podcast was when the President Trump announced that he is planning to have a UFC fight at the White House next July 4th as part of the, I don't know what, is it America 250, USA 250, whatever it is. Well, do you think that, you have your toes in those waters? Do you think that that is a feasible thing to have a UFC fight at the White House? Do you think that that will happen?
I think it should happen right behind the fountain on the Great Lawn or whatever. I have no idea what the White House lawn is called, but maybe he probably calls it the Great Lawn. But do I think it's feasible? Let's just say if it does happen, I hope we're finally going to get that match between Elon and Mark Zuckerberg, because Elon's not in Trump's good favors right now, so Trump might be throw him in there like a gladiator style. You remember Mark Zuckerberg and Elon. And Zuckerberg does fight. He does trade in the cage, and Elon does his own as well. I would love for that to happen. That'd be ratings for sure. And people would buy in for that one. They were going to do it at the Roman Coliseum, I remember at one point. But do I think that Trump could do something like this? If anybody could, it could be Trump. You know what I mean? He goes all the time.
Yeah, he's hugely popular with the UFC crowd for sure.
He's good friends with Dana White. Dana White spoke at his previous election type stuff, and Dana White's always greeting him there. So he was just at the Madison Square Garden one not too long ago. He was in Vegas. Would it put it past me if there was not an event for the UFC with Trump? I think it could be happening. Now, will it be a full-fledged UFC 255? Of course not. No. But could it be a couple of the guys?
He floated 20,000 fans. I just don't. The fan aspect of it, I don't see how that could. I don't know. I don't know the feasibility of it, but I would think getting 20,000 people, the security clearance alone on the White House lawn might be a bit difficult, even for the president.
You know what probably is going to happen? It's probably going to be a couple of his buddies that come on out. You have Colby Covington, who's a big UFC guy, former champion and whatnot. He's a big Trump guy. He'll probably bring a couple of them through the White House. But would I love it? I would love something to happen.
It would be a spectacle. I'll tell you that.
Chaos. I love chaos, Gordon.
Yeah. Well, all right. You're a New York guy. I know you're not New York based anymore, but you're a New York born and bred kid.
Absolutely.
You said about Fordham. What's your read on the Yankees as we hit the halfway point of the season? Not so much about where they're going or whatnot, but just what's the feeling of a Yankee fan from afar?
SOS.
Right.
SOS, 911, PTSD, perhaps. It's not great, Gordon. And it's kind of interesting because it's almost like there's a tale of two worlds out there with the Yankee fans right now, that once again, social media has just put this in the forefront. It's the fact that you have people that have been there before, but it's also been that's the thing that I always had an issue with when people are like, oh, the Yankees buy championships. We haven't won since 2009. That's a lifetime. 2009 is so long ago, Gordon. 2009 is so long ago. I don't even know what the number one movie. Let's look it up. Best top movie of 2009. Let's see what this was. What was the top movie of 2009? Avatar.
Right.
What are we doing? Do you know how long ago Avatar?
Yeah.
That's what we're going. If Avatar was
Harry Potter movies were still coming out in 2009.
Yeah. So people we buy championships. Listen, we haven't won a championship. So I understand that. And I don't like this aspect where it's it's not, it's just it's not win or go home. We have to win it all. It's unrealistic expectations. No, you just don't, you strive for that. We need to continue striving for that. But there's one thing that drives me nuts is Yankee fans that are just that just you go on a losing streak and they just they're calling for everybody's head. And it's it's a long season. This is sports. You can't, and I got to give credit to the Yankees that they are one of the few organizations that don't pull the trigger when you need to. Perhaps maybe sometimes to the detriment, but the Yankees will be fine. The Yankees will be absolutely fine. But if you ask the Yankee fans, it's not good. And one of the things that you really saw with it, Gordon, is, and I wrote about this over at Outkick, that you can check it in Fox Sports and everything, was the Yankee fans truly lost. Some of them lost my respect when they started. They're unhinged. And I can say this.
Absolutely. It's all based on expectations, and they have an expectation. And I brought this up on a previous podcast based on the previous owner, George Steinbrenner, where every year was must win, right? If you don't win the World Series, it's a failure. And as you brought up, they haven't won a World Series since 2009. So they had 16 years of failures. So they were already an entitled group, and I consider myself one of them. But now they've been pushed the edge because not only have they not had any success, they've not had any changes. Right? It's the same people, and that was not the way it used to be. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but you're exactly right. Listen, I was frustrated as hell. I was screaming, yelling about the fact that we kept Garrett Cole in for that disastrous inning.
Oh.
I think if anything, because this is interesting, because it was the first time with the pitch clock where he was under the gun, and nobody really brought this up. He was under the gun because he had the pitch clock, and he was exhausted. He was sweating like Chris. What's a former governor, whatever his name is, Chris
Christie?
Chris Christie on a hot 100-degree beach day at Seaside Heights. You know what I mean? Like, he was sweating. And the thing that I didn't like is none of the pitcher coach, nobody went out to give him a breather. They should have at least given him a breather because things were just going down. Like, I was losing my mind on that aspect. Like, it's either Boone or the pitching coach has to go out, and you got to give him a breather because the pitching clock, he was pitching every 25 seconds and he was just losing it. You got to give him a stop because you know that the Dodgers weren't. So that's frustrating. But one thing that I really can't stand though right now, Gordon, is the Yankee fans that were booing Juan Soto. Okay. Remember in the beginning of the year, Juan Soto, they were doing F Juan Soto chants. Okay. And right. I don't believe me. I was in my 20s at one age. I was cursing off, every Manny and every Boston Red Sox player you can imagine. But I'm not cursing off someone that left us. And I'm sure as hell not cursing a player off that left us when we're not even playing them.
Yeah.
It was crazy how pathetic the team looked. Just these new fans looked. And believe me, I called out a prominent rising radio person, ended up getting blocked from him, which is fine. Like, go screw yourself for who that person is. But just because he was one of the people perpetuating this, he's a bleacher creature, all this stuff. And I called him out on it and he couldn't take the heat. And that's the thing.
Who is it? Do you want to say? Do I have to figure it out? Is it Keith McPherson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a first try. There you go. All right.
Yeah, there you go. I called him out, and I was like, "Dude, nothing but love for you, but you're wrong, Garrett." And he goes, "I have no love for you, actually." And I think you're a fool, and then blocks me.
Wow,
and I'm
that's harsh.
And unfollowed me, and I'm like, "Bro, get a spine." Imus taught me, get a spine. All right, you know what I mean. So, but anyway, and Water Wolf taught me the same thing. But anyway, the point is though, when you're we look pathetic there. Have some standards. You are the New York Yankees, okay? And you want them to have standards on the field. Well, you have to have some standards in the fact that Juan Soto's laughing all the way literally to the bank, and we're doing F Juan Soto chants. We were playing the Diamondbacks and then the Rays at the time. Tell me that somebody's in your head more so than you cursing them off when you're not even playing them. And it's just been this. It's almost like this SOS mentality that there's it's this crazed mentality where it's becoming unhinged all across. So that sure, we might not be winning or we lost and stuff, or oh, he's not with us and he's against us. Okay, maybe to an extent. But because we haven't won, Gordon, it's the fact that everything else is unraveling across the board for a Yankee fan right now. So we are doing things like that. It's just we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I think, I don't know if a managerial change might not be coming though.
Yeah, it's not. There's not going to be any changes. There will not. If you're having your hopes up for changes and you're a Yankee fan, forget about it. It is if Cashman's not going anywhere and Hal is not getting rid of his basically his stepbrother at this point, and Cashman, and he's not getting rid of his pet project in Boone. They're all in it. They'll go all down with the ship together. What I have brought up in previous episodes, and maybe this kind of ties into the fan point with Soto. Do you think that now that we've had a couple of years of legalized sports betting, that has harshened, is that even a word, harshened? Has that made the fan bases of teams more daring or more harsh in their criticism of players and their reaction to players? It feels like now, maybe it's just because there's cameras everywhere and we can all film everything, that it's just more in your face. But it also feels like there's been, and players say this as well, that the fans now react in a different way because they got money on games, they got money on players, and every interaction with fans now has some financial component to it because of internet and legalized sports betting.
You are exactly right. I think, once again, there's a lot of things that we're seeing right now. It's first off, it's the immediacy factor. Wherever, you're growing up in that swipe generation. You talk Gen Z and Zoomers and everything. Millennials were kind of the first ones to do it, but at least like we still read out there. The lower you go, they don't. The younger you go, they can't focus, they can't pay attention. So they want that immediate satisfaction. Anybody who has kids or nieces or anything out there, or nephews, you can all see it. You understand that, where it's just like they need that immediate satisfaction. So you have those Gen Zers that are now in their early 20s that are very vocal on social media because that's all they know out there. And so they're demanding results immediately. Now, also, when you add in sports betting, where you can literally bet on what the next pitch is going to be, you can literally bet, hey, I'm going to put $50 down, and guess what? It's going to double up for tomorrow morning when I wake up. I'm going to have $100, I better.
Right.
I better have it. Or those, he's dead to me. You know what I mean? Or how could you? And we all see it. I've been there oh, how the hell did you drop that? Everything. But that's on social media. I'm also, in my 30s. I'm joking. Some people aren't joking out there. And I think that's what athletes are seeing, where they're not humans anymore. They are just they're a name on a bet slip, I think, really, for a lot of people. And I think also this goes beyond it goes beyond players, where it comes down to teams. And, I think this is also what, it's unfortunately going to start happening with college sports is you're going to start rooting for individuals rather than your teams, because these players are going to just start jumping ship now with the NIL. So no longer is I'm a Michigan fan, do or die forever, even if we stink. Now for younger kids out there, I'm telling you, NIL is going to be a disaster. It's going to ruin college sports as far as I'm concerned, but with it, that NIL thing comes gambling money too, because you can bet on the sports as well. So I do think that I think it started with fantasy sports, years ago, where you could create your own team, and then you add the EA Sports element to it, where you can create so I think you get the gaming, the fantasy thing, and then when you put in money, and obviously the dollar rules everything, but also it's your money. I think that has an overwhelming effect on the on how unreasonable the fan is today. And it's not easy for owners to figure that out. It sure as hell is not easy for players. And then you add in the media aspect, and some people in the media only read social media, not realizing that social media is not the answer to everything whatsoever. The amount of people that actually use social media that, go to games isn't, a lot of them. But once again, it's that it's the Titanic's going down or whatnot. So I do think, I can tell you this, Gordon, when I was at Fordham, I would even just messing around with buddies and stuff, in betting or here and there, if we didn't have a book or stuff, I'd be like, oh, $10, with my roommate or whatnot. I couldn't imagine being in college right now with sports betting on your phone.
And you're always on your phone. Everybody's on their phone.
You're on your phone, but also you have the ability, and you're with your buddies, you're cracking some beers, and you just oh, they're going to score a goal in this beer. I wouldn't have I guarantee people don't have their cafeteria funds by the end of the week. The allotted funds have to be gone. It is a horrible, I enjoy sports betting, but the mental aspect that it's already doing to a society that already is not good with mental health is not good. And then on top of it, when you add the fact, and I go off on this all the time, if you're going to push sports betting and sports gambling, and you're going to put in all these ads and everything, you have to have integrity of the game when it comes to it. So I need officials, I need referees to face repercussions if they screw up something, or if you're we need, in the back of your mind with this growing betting thing, you're always going to now call question into the sport if there are some absurd and outrageous calls going on. And you got to figure out a way to balance both of them, because I think it's going to hurt the integrity of the sport down the line, where everyone is now oh, the NBA is a joke, or the NFL is a joke, or, with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, there's guaranteed to be a pass interference, a phantom pass interference call that never happened. people are expecting it and they're losing faith in the institution. And the commissioners have to start getting a grip on that. And I think the way you do that is you gotta, if you screw up, you don't get to do the Super Bowl or something. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have these people out there that are awful at times. They need to get like, if you and I screwed up, we wouldn't have jobs sometimes if we were officials. The old saying is whether meteorologists and officials, it's the two best jobs because you never get in trouble when you're wrong.
Yeah, and look, I do think that we're also we are in a place now in time where more people than ever believe in conspiracies. So I think the Karen Reed trial showed that people love a good conspiracy. So when you have money on the line, it's a sport and there's a questionable call, which could just be because the ref missed it or the umpire blew it. But now, especially with social media, the crowd gathers there, and it's always a case of, it's all rigged. It's all rigged all the time.
And wouldn't you agree, though, that the repercussions people are always going to watch sports no matter what, but you are hurting the integrity of it. And then, or then what you're doing is you're making the younger generation realize that it's only for themselves because they feel that they're going to get screwed anyway. And we're seeing that as well already, that the younger players, and once again, the NILs, I understand college players have to get paid. I'm not mad about that. But a lot of it's just like, oh, what team? You know what I mean? I don't own them. I don't owe them anything. And with that comes the fan base. And it's that entitlement that we're already seeing from social media that people want. Now it's coming from even a younger age where that team aspect's not there. You throw in a betting aspect, the officials are going to be against me. It's woe on me. Woe is me against the world. I think there's an issue with it. I think down the line, there's an issue with it. I think that fans have unrealistic expectations, especially with sports betting, though, as well, as you said. What about you? What do you think? Am I wrong here? I'm not wrong.
No, I don't think so. It's a troublesome thing because, look, at the end of the day, I want, as a responsible adult, to be able to sit on my couch and use an app that if I want to throw $5 on something or $10 on something, that I have that ability to do so, right? And before the apps and before it was legalized, it still existed, right? So we could wave a wand and take it away tomorrow. That doesn't mean that gambling would stop tomorrow either. So, but there is a downside, and unfortunately, there's no black and white, right? Like it's just about what's the most fair thing that you can do, and even if
profitable.
That's definitely the case, especially with the sports leagues. But at the end of the day, I think that there are people that are going to get into trouble with it, but I kind of wonder sometimes, wouldn't they have gotten into trouble with something else anyway?
If you're going to go that way, yeah. And I understand, but I just think it's the fact that you can bet on the next pitch on
the minutia of the game. Yeah, that is dangerous, especially when you consider that there might be players tipping the scales a little bit for a buddy.
As we've seen time and time.
Right.
Yeah. Or an umpire.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to, I don't know how that would work because obviously if the batter hits it, but maybe, how about a I'm going to get there's ways. It's weird. It's definitely weird.
When these things are presented at first, right? Like internet gambling, legalized sports betting, it's seen as, okay, it's this or it's that. But when you get into it, there's 1,000 offshoots and variables that you cannot predict ahead of time. And when you get into the real world, it gets kind of messy. So
do you think, though, has this hurt? Do you think people are losing their love of the game?
Oh, absolutely. Because now, I don't think it's gone completely because, kids are always going to look to athletes as their heroes and all that type of stuff. But no, it just kind of
sit and watch a game like you said.
It hardens people's view of things and makes it a monetary thing. It's not just for the joy of sports.
Like on an NFL Sunday, Gordon, like if you have a couple of different games going, we've all been there. If I'm at a bar or whatnot, I'm only watching to see if Josh Allen's throwing over 25 completions. I'm not even watching fully the game. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if you have bets, like I'm not appreciating the game as much as I should. Even the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl sucked. It was great because the Chiefs lost. Although, on the flip side, Philly had
the Eagles won, right? There was no way.
It was, it's just like I didn't even fully embrace the Super Bowl like I used to just because I had the over under on this or Saquon's got to get 1.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It sets you up for misery, right? Because you have to have 1,000 different things go right in your mind to my fantasy league. I got this bet here, I got that bet there, I got this guy.
And it goes to the larger issue of just like going outside and play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had an interview not too long with the kids from The Sandlot. Where would you rank The Sandlot on your? I know you're a movie guy.
I was not a Sandlot guy. You know what? I was like a 30-year-old man when The Sandlot came out, and I didn't have any kids yet either. So it would have been kind of weird if I was like, man, you know what movie I really love? The Sandlot. You know, it would have been a little strange.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. You're more of a Field of Dreams person. Is that so?
No, you know what? I think the best baseball movie is Major League. Yeah, you can show Major League to anybody and they're going to have a good time.
How about this, though? I like Major League 2 more than 1. Is that
wrong? That's outrageous. I should cut this conversation off right now.
Yeah, I love, he's going, you got no marbles. And he goes like that, sir.
Right. Yes.
But I had the Sandlot kids on, and we were talking about what makes the movie still so popular. All right. They did an event here, and like, it was unbelievable. And they were just like, it's just going outside and playing again. And I feel like we've lost that a little bit, Gordon, with people don't know what playing is. And the other thing is, you used to be able, you got made fun of in school. You could go home, you could go outside in the cul-de-sac, you could shoot a hoop, you could lace your rollerblades.
Now everything's organized.
But now you go home, you can't escape getting bullied because you're on your phone and they're still making fun of you. So I think that's another aspect. We could talk all day about that, though. For sure.
I did want to ask you, because I know you follow this a little closer than I do, but the WNBA is now negotiating their new CBA, and obviously Caitlin Clark has brought in record viewership and attention because people are paying attention for the first time ever. Do you think that league is actually going to be able to capitalize on this moment? Because it feels like that league shoots itself in its foot more than any league that I've seen.
It's unbelievable what they're doing to themselves. I don't even want to get into the whole race narrative and stuff like that. Let's just, all right. I mean, like, all right, let's just talk about what it is. You have an unbelievable player that is, helping you get chartered flights now, like giving you more money. You're on ESPN. You're getting more airtime. More people know about you. And guess what? She's giving you the opportunity as an opponent that if you play good against her, you will get known. If you're a teammate with her, you will get known. Why would you ever want to disparage this person or bring her down out of jealousy, out of whatever it might be?
It's wild.
Or whatever. Why would you ever want to when you're winning? The only reason anybody gives a damn about the WNBA right now, and it's sad to say, is Caitlin Clark to a whole new level. All right. I'm watching games. I'm learning other players. That's
how it works. That's how it works with radio stations or movies. You have a star that draws the eyeballs, and then the other people feed off of that. And then over time, maybe they'll get their chance to be the star. But
Sophie Cunningham, I didn't know who she was.
Of course
know her
not.
Now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You would look. I understood the first year when this person comes in, and now all of a sudden, right? I get that. First year, the new kid on the block. But now we're into year 2, and it's still. The pettiness is still happening, and it does feel like the league. I mean, they're expanding with 6 franchise. It feels like
broke.
You know what I compared it to? It's like if when I had the first 3 lotto numbers, I was preparing to buy a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't happened yet. It's started. Maybe it'll get there, but it doesn't feel like you guys. It feels like you're jumping the gun just a little bit.
They absolutely are. I mean, and it's going to hurt everybody else. All right. If you start doing that, then everybody else has to compensate for that. There's no reason the WNBA should be expanding right now. Not a reason in the world. We saw the ratings go down when Caitlin Clark was hurt.
Right.
So I mean, it's
all tied into one person. It's really unlike anything we've ever seen in any other sport. You can't compare it.
You can't. And the thing is, it's for the other players to pretend it's not. You're just shooting yourself in the foot, because guess what? With society and people these days, and even fans, they'll turn the channel in a second. Right. There's no loyalty whatsoever. Especially in the sports world, there's no loyalty. So if you start pissing them off, they'll just be like, the hell with this, and just switch the channel. Or I'm not even going to tune in because Caitlin's not playing. And Angel Reese, she's like, I would never. I hate her now. Like the villain, like whatever it might be. I think they're expanding. They have unrealistic expectations right now, and they should rally behind rather than further divide and listen to the vocal minority groups. And I don't mean minority as in the minority. I mean the vocal minority groups of whatever people are upset about right now on social media regarding WNBA, because it's just, you got to just focus, play the hit. You know what I mean? Play the win.
Absolutely. Gunz, I'm running out of time. Where can people find you?
Follow me, The Gunz Show, Gunz, at The Gunz Show. Big music show. I'll be at Warped Tour, broadcasting from the Warped Tour as well on Amazon Music. It's going to be absolutely amazing. You can share it on Amazon Prime. You can follow me at Outkick.com, of course. I'll be doing all sorts of articles, pop culture, trending, sports, entertainment. And yes, Gordon, I still think that the Burger King Whopper song is the worst song ever made. And I would love to know who that person is, because he's probably richer than we sure as hell will ever be.
Yeah, you never know. It might be Barry Manilow. He might still be cranking out those jingles. You never know. All right, that is going to do it for another edition of Gordon Damer on Sports. As always, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate the support. If you've not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We'll be back later this week right here on Gordon Damer on Sports.